Hey, what's up, guys? Luke Profit. So I just wanted to talk a little bit here about how you can become a millionaire overnight and how I became a millionaire overnight. Now, it's a bit of a clickbaity kind of title there, but it's actually true. I took $70 and I went to Indonesia and I exchanged that $70 for millions of rupiah. Their currency is worth way less. So changing $70 US for Indonesian rupiah, you can become a millionaire overnight. And that's what I did. But yeah, so no, the real point of this video is just to sort of talk about there are currency differences from place to place. This is why you are able to hire virtual assistants in the Philippines for very, very, very cheap. Whereas, other places cost a lot more, and, you can't get somebody for $3 an hour. So, yes, so let's just talk about this. Now, obviously, there are some drawbacks to some of these places. Sometimes, sure, you can get by on a few bucks a day, but you also might get shot. I mean, you have to do your research. You don't want to just, be like, oh, hey, guess what? I can just fly to freaking Iraq and live on a couple bucks. It's like you gotta be smart, and just because a place is beautiful and stuff doesn't mean it's not somewhere that just because somewhere is beautiful and cheap doesn't mean it's somewhere you should travel. So you want to do a little bit of research beforehand. That said, most Americans are already super OCD about traveling and stuff, way more than they need to be. You could just continue living wherever you are in the U.S., assuming you're actually in the U.S. Maybe you're not, but I'm assuming most of my viewers probably are in the U.S. You could continue living there, but you're paying a lot of money to live in the U.S. unless you're like Kansas or something. It's relatively expensive, and I mean, you know what the U.S. is like, but your money can go way farther other places like the Philippines, Thailand, Bali, stuff like that. So I just want to go over a couple places. So for me, I really like tropical places that have palm trees. That's a requirement. There are a whole lot of places that are safe and cheap and beautiful, and every place has pros and cons. But just if you're making money online and you've got enough of a savings where you're not going to be screwed if something messes up, then definitely consider traveling. It's a whole lot of fun. Yeah, so in the U.S., you're going to be paying $1,000 for rent. I guess it depends where you are. $1,000, $1,300. Some cities and stuff, even 2,000 whatever for rent. But there are places where you can live that are way cheaper. So let's just go over some of them. You can look up articles. If you just search like cheap places to travel. Oh, hey, I haven't even looked at these articles yet. But Thailand. Is this one of those like click through articles, or is my computer just freezing? Yeah, Thailand, South Africa, Vietnam, Uruguay, Cuba. Like, okay, so there are all these different places, and you can look. A good website is expatistan.com. Expatistan.com. So you can say, I want to go to Phuket, and this doesn't work perfectly for everything, and I'm currently living in New York. Compare, and it'll sort of show you the cost of living. So Phuket, Thailand is 57% cheaper than in New York, and it shows you where it's cheaper because, some places the housing's way cheaper, but then the food is way more, and, yada, yada, yada. So this is kind of a good place so you can kind of estimate, and you can also watch YouTube videos, look up prices, try to figure out stuff. But yeah, so let's just talk about some places that are good. Now, for me, like I said, I like tropical places that are pretty. Those are my main requirements, is that it's safe and it's beautiful and nice and tropical and warm. I don't really like colder places so much. So my first picks and the places that I have been, well, I'll start with the places that I've been to. So I went. You'd think that when you get on a plane, right, it's going to be like boo and go all the way over, but I actually flew up and over the globe. Right? But that gets confusing to look at that way because it's upside down. So, yeah, so I flew to Thailand, and Thailand was my first stop, and I spent many, many, many months there. So Thailand is huge. This is kind of hard to tell, and, we're all used to what our country looks like, but the distance from from like, down here to up here is actually ridiculous. This is like, if I'm remembering correctly, like driving from DC to Florida. That's how, how long this is. So I spent most of my time, essentially, well, not quite all of my time because I was in Bangkok for a bit too, but Phuket, right here on this little island here, and you'd think, wow, what a tiny island, but it's actually not. This is massive. To get from the airport, which is, where's the airport? I think it's like up in here somewhere, down to central Phuket, it's about half an hour car ride, going pretty fast. So this is a giant, giant island. And there's tons of cool stuff, and I'm going to do more in-depth videos on each of these places. But yeah, so Phuket is great, and Thailand in general. I went to Phuket because I like the beaches, I like the tropical stuff. If you want a more mountainous area, there's Bangkok. I don't know if I'm going to fit this all in one video if I go too detailed. I'll talk about Thailand separately in a video, and then I'll break it up, I guess. But yeah, Phuket's good. There are cheaper places up here. There's Chiang Mai, which I have not been to yet, but I'm going to go there. That's cool, but it gets cooler, and it's more mountainous and stuff. So that's a lot of fun. I've heard it's really, really, really good there. Big community of digital nomads and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I hung out in Thailand for a while. Cambodia is another place. I haven't been there, but they've got, let me look it up right here. It's called, what is it? Angkor Wat, and Wat just means temple. So Angkor is I guess what it's, the area in Angkor Wat is the main like attraction. But what is it? How is it spelled? Angkor Wat. Images. Yeah, okay, so check this out. This is like an old Hindu, I believe, temple. It's freaking crazy, and tons of people go here, and this is relatively cheap to go to as well. I just haven't done it yet, and I really want to. But my friends have been here, and they say it's sick because unlike in the U.S. where, well, maybe at Angkor Wat, the main one big one, they have railings, but there are tons of other side temples that are around. That's not even one. I should try to find a better picture. But yeah, there are tons of other side temples around, and unlike in the U.S., there's not these railings up where you can't climb on stuff. Like, these are thousands of years old. I think thousands, right? Yeah, thousand-year-old temples. And they're just there, and you can go climb on them, and you can go freaking do whatever you want. And they're not gonna be like, no, 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 you stay behind these lines here, like they would in America. So Cambodia, I think I've heard the food is not super great there. And my watch is talking to me again. Shut up. Anyway. Yeah, so Cambodia, as I've heard, is cool. Vietnam is also another really, really pretty place. I know we think of the war and stuff, but it's a safe place to go to now. Singapore, everybody thinks of Singapore as being really, really expensive, and it's about America prices. They have a lot of weird government rules and stuff going on there. So, like, for example, they think that it's bad and they don't want to have, they say, okay, well, traffic is a problem, so let's just limit the amount of cars that can be on the road. And the way that they do that is they say, okay, well, we're just going to make it absurdly expensive to have a driver's license, so it costs, more than $100,000 US to have a driver's license. And, they basically use that to keep people from driving, so it kind of sucks because, people can't just have a car, but then they've also got good public transport and stuff. So it's interesting. I don't like how controlling the government is there and stuff, but it is very pretty. Nice place to visit. I've really only been to the airport there. Had tickets there, was planning on staying for about a week, but then I ended up changing my plans. Yeah, so Singapore would be a cool place to visit, but it's about US prices. Philippines, this is where everybody's virtual assistants are, or almost everybody's virtual assistants are. Very pretty. So Philippines is a collection of islands. Manila is the giant city. It feels like I've been there, hung out there for a month. So it's like kind of like Washington D.C. It feels like Washington D.C., but it's bigger by a lot, and the people are really, really nice. So yes. Also, everybody carries around giant guns. So if that is going to freak you out, then might not be the place for you. But, if you're going to the mall, there's going to be a security guard there standing with a Spaz 12 shotgun right out front, just right there at the entrance, at every single entrance. They've really got a lot of guns there, and it doesn't really bother me. I'm not afraid of people having guns. I personally believe that the more guns we have, the better, because, good guy with a gun is going to stop a bad guy with a gun. But this is not to be political and stuff here. Just, it is normal. There are big guns all over the place in the Philippines, and it does seem to really deter, people that want to do criminal things. Also, I should say, I obviously do not do drugs or anything like that. I don't even really like alcohol at all. But Southeast Asia in general here is super strict on drugs and stuff like that, and you will get the death penalty, even as a tourist a lot of the time, if you are doing that kind of stuff. So if that's your thing, which I'd hope it's not, but if that's your thing, Southeast Asia is not the place for you. Go somewhere else. Go to Colorado. um, but yeah, so this is where I've spent most of my time traveling, because it's just gorgeous. If you zoom out, oh, it's freaking clouds are in the way, but near the equator, you sort of got too hot and dry, but all the places that are kind of green and tropical, I love that stuff. And then America, of course, right here. Florida's right there, but then there's Mexico, so we don't have so much tropical stuff except for Florida. But yeah, so Southeast Asia is probably my number one recommendation. A lot of people seem like, oh no, they don't want to do it because there's a flight, but the flight's really not that bad. It's long, but it's not that bad. Seats are way bigger and everything. I'll do another video talking about that. But another place that you're going to want to check out, and it is not quite as safe as Southeast Asia, but still safe enough to be not really much of anything to worry about. If you come down here to Central America, I remember looking at this, and where is it? I think it's like Belize. Here it is. Yeah, Belize. Belize is very, very cheap and gorgeous, low cost of living. And I believe same thing with Costa Rica. Is it Costa Rica? I'm trying to remember. I haven't been there yet. So you have to be a little bit more careful here because it's more violent than Asia is. But in general, Belize is super, super safe, and Costa Rica is also safe, just not quite as safe as Southeast Asia. But these two places are definitely on my list, and I'm going to see them because they're nice, tropical. My wife has been to Guatemala, and that's cool, but I don't think it's not quite as safe for touring, tourist kind of stuff, because you consider yourself a tourist when you go to any of these places. Nicaragua, I know there's a big dropshipping influencer who lives there. But yeah, your money just goes way farther in some of these places, and they're gorgeous. But you do have to be careful because some of these other places are not as safe. But yeah, so those are some options for you, and quick little just some thoughts. Belize is also, it's not really hard to get there either. It's just a little flight down from, wherever you are in the U.S. I believe if you're, in the D.C.-ish area up here, this is like not long. I think it's like I was looking at it's like a 4-hour flight or something, if I'm correct about that, to get from here to Belize. And also, I think you have less visa issues because they're more friendly with tourists. And if I remember when I was looking into these, I think they give you like 60-day or 30. It's not 30 days. It's either a 30-day visa that it could be expended a lot, or it was a 30 or a 60 or a 90-day visa. I don't remember, but it's pretty easy. And I think a flight there was around $200. Last time I was looking at it. So yeah, I guess let me just go over everything that I've said here. There's some other good places in South America too, I've heard. Where is it? Argentina is pretty cool. Yeah, so you got to do your research and just pick somewhere and check it out. But yeah, so let me just go over a quick list of cheap-ish places that are pretty nice, and I'll probably go into detail on these later. So, have not been there yet, but I've heard that Belize and Costa Rica are great, and they're super beautiful and tropical. And then Phuket, which is right here, is gorgeous. I spent a ton of time there, and that's probably my favorite place that I've been. Different pros and cons, but for me, that's probably one of my favorite places that I've traveled to. Then you've got Bali, which I forgot to talk about, but that's down here, and that is in Indonesia, and it's super, super cool. Really cheap. I'll do a whole separate video on it. That's a good place that you're going to want to check out. Different pros and cons, of course, like with everything. Then there is the Philippines, which I didn't make it to the beachy stuff. I really wish I did, but I just hung out in Manila the whole time because it was close to my virtual assistants. And then one of my virtual assistants lives in Cebu here. But I stayed in, what is it called? I'm thinking South Korea now. Oh, I can't even remember the name. Makati, that's right, that's what it was, in Manila. So Manila is really big, and it's broken up into like different districts, I think it's called, I forget. But Makati is where I stayed for a long time, and it was cool, but it was like staying in a big city. So, but there are other cheap places you can go in the Philippines, but it's hard. Visas make the Philippines tough because you can only get like a 21-day visa going into it without with a U.S. passport at least. So. And then, yeah, so I guess those are my main things. Thailand, that's probably my number one recommendation. Thailand's amazing. But then, you could also check out Cambodia, Vietnam, Bali, Philippines, and then Costa Rica, and where is it? Belize. Yeah, so those are my sort of my ball out in paradise for not that much money recommendations, and you can look into all of them and decide which one you want. I'm going to do further videos sort of discussing each of these, and that's assuming that you're like me and you prefer to be somewhere that is warm and humid and tropical with beautiful plants and nature and stuff like that. If you're more the kind of person that doesn't care about the temperature and it can be colder and you're fine with that, then, I'm sure there are other options that you could look at that are gorgeous as well in their own respect, but for me, tropical is a must. So that's why I picked those locations, and they're all relatively cheap and safe and everything. But yeah, I'll do individual videos on everything and more videos sort of talking about some of the details of traveling. But just this can also be a good motivator too for when you're figuring your stuff out and making money. Just realize it only takes a couple $1,000 a month, and you can be living in like freaking paradise. You don't have to be a millionaire. Like to live in the same kind of place in the U.S., yeah, because we what do we have? We got like Florida here, and a couple other places. But you can live just gorgeous places for not that much money at all, and it's pretty incredible. Just got to set yourself up with a system that works where you're making money, and then you can free up your time, free up your location, and travel around the world. Yeah, okay, cool. So I'll make individual videos for each of these places. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. If you're new to dropshipping and you're trying to figure out how to get started, I've got a full free set of training videos down there, link in the description. It goes over everything you need to know about how to get started making money online. And the average person following my method makes around $500 to $800 profit per month after expenses for each 1,000-item eBay store that they have set up and running. They're really not that hard to get started. If you've got any questions about anything dropshipping related, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. I'll put a link down there, as well as a link to a group that I started with hundreds of other dropshippers that you can join. I post new content on this channel every couple days, so go ahead and subscribe and click the notifications, and I'll see you back here with another video in a couple days.